ready for the big reveal? Introducing our beautiful 2021 Raw Beauty Ambassadors.
My name is Crystal. I'm a caregiver for my God-given mother, who's a breast cancer survivor. I met her in the most precarious way. I've done home improvements for 30 years. Now I'm retired. And doing one of those jobs, I encountered this lovely lady who was a very good close friend to my partner. And I actually wasn't working on that particular site, but he kept promising her that I'm going to bring her by because she's so detail oriented. You have to know her because she's so sweet. And he kept telling her this. So finally one day she said, when are you going to bring that woman by here? So finally I came by and we just had a small project. I touched up her door and she was like really impressed that I was a female and I was in the home improvement business. So we did that, and my partner and she were from the same hometown. And I just noticed that nobody was caring for this woman. So we befriended each other, and I would go by and check on her prescriptions and make sure she has your mail, make sure she was being taken care of. I'm a person that likes to cook for people. So I started putting her on my list to deliver a little food, my beans and my famous chicken salad. So finally, I noticed again that nobody was really looking out for her. And so we came in contact more often. And then I went through a transition where I came out of my relationship, and we talked, and she said, well, why don't we get together? And then I discovered that she lost her husband, her only daughter, and she was alone. And she really didn't have any close relatives to take care of her. So we got together, and then they slowly reveal what's really going on with them, the elderly. That's the way that they do things. And I realized she was a cancer survivor. She had a mammography, she had her breast removed. And we just got closer to the point where I was able to take her around where she needed to get to. I started managing her medications. I started actually being an advocate for her with her doctor. And from there, I ended up moving her into my home. Her daughter and I were similar. She noticed similar characteristics in me. We're the same zodiac sign, which is Aries. I'm born the 17th of April. Her daughter was actually born the 18th of April. So she said we clown the same way. And we did a lot of things the same way. So it was like God had sent me another mother, and God had sent her another daughter. And we just met each other's spirits, and we went with that. So I have my biological mother and I have my God-gifted mother. And now that time has gone on, we've been with each other. She's been with me for going on 8 years. Pretty soon it'll be 8 years. And it's difficult at times because sometimes you feel alone because they really need you to be an extension of them. Your arm length is here, but from that point on, it's them the rest of the way. And sometimes you feel a little exhausted mentally and physically because you're doing so much. Because caring for a person who's aging, they do less and less for themselves. So you do more and more for them. And a lot of times they forget, that you're a human being. They forget that you need private times, or that they don't have to tell you to do everything. But as elderly, they all are almost like the same, because my biological mom, she's the same way. She tells me something, she expects me to do it right then. And a lot of times we do that, but sometimes we don't. We have our own procedure and way of doing things. So we might relax a little bit and say, okay, mama, we'll get that done. We'll get there. We'll do that. And I call my girlfriends sometimes so I can get a little relief. Let them know what's going on. They say, girl, well, God's going to bless you because look at what you do. You're doing such a good thing and everything. And that's true. And that's the way I feel too. But as a caregiver, it's so detail oriented, and even though we do so much, sometimes we don't feel like we're doing enough. We get down on ourselves. That happens a lot. I have my little tearful moments. And I don't mind those because we all need to cry and we need to vent and we need to find a way of getting to the next stage or getting on to the other side so we can move on, so we can continue to love and be patient and take care of our little ladies, the best way that we can. Unfortunately for me, I haven't been able to really build a big enough village around my mother that I have staying with me. She, as an elderly, they're frightened a lot of times, and she has issues with new people and that type of thing. So it's been difficult for me to bring someone else in to assist me. And I think that that's something I should have started and have done a long time ago. And like now with COVID, I'm like in even more of a bind because now I have to think about the virus and bringing them around her and then her view on it and everything. But I understand that I need to know to ask for help, to accept help, and regardless, I'm getting ready to tear up. I'm sorry. And I don't mean to, because, I care about her so much, but I don't want to forget about me, And sometimes I feel guilty. I wonder if I do enough for my own mother. And so these are some of the challenges that I face. Because of course, I love them both and I love my mother. And so I'm in the process now of trying to get myself more help because I realize I can't do it all myself. I can't do it by myself. And I have to, just like anyone, like if you're an entrepreneur and you run a business, you have to allow people to do their job. So I need to allow someone to come into my life and trust that, after I've learned who they are and I decide, okay, this is a fit, I allow them to help me and to do their part, So I like being a caregiver. I like taking care of her. I really feel like we're a good match. She's funny. She's hilarious, as a matter of fact. And we get along, and it's a perfect match. I know that God sent me to her and vice versa. And so I always try to remember that, through my struggles, know. But my intention is always in love. So I'm happy with that, So I don't beat up on myself but so much because I know I can only do what's humanly possible. And so, that's the way I met her. That's how we came into each other's lives. And she and my mom are good friends.
Oh, good.
And that helps.
Is your mom local too?
Yeah, she's in Silver Spring. So she's here. And then I have 4 other sisters that help me with my mom. Okay. So I have a little relief there.
Okay.
And vice versa. They come in to help me, when they can. Only adverse attention I've had were from I'm not actually her blood relative. So you had those who were suspicious of my activity in her life, but now they see that I've only really nurtured our relationship and her, and I have taken care of her. And she asked me to become her power of attorney. I didn't push any of those things. Matter of fact, I took 2 weeks to decide, and I talked to her closest relative before I did. And I asked her multiple times, are you sure I'm your choice? Because I thought she would naturally pick him, who's a close cousin. And she said no, because I know that you will take care of me and you will not put me in a home and you will not abandon me. She said, I know these things about you and I am not certain about that with him. Yeah. So we talked about it extensively. And so the only adverse attention I had was from her relatives, but I was willing to do the things that they were not willing to do. And she noticed that. And there were times when I felt there was still some distance when we first got going with things, where you felt like maybe you weren't appreciated, and you didn't get credit where credit was due. And this happens, but that's because you have to become family to each other. Initially, I think because I'm sort of a regimented, organized kind of person, and then a process kind of person, and sometimes people don't feel the soft side of you right away. They just feel maybe like the mechanical side. And I would see at times where she would be having discussions with people and she would claim something that I was doing as her own. But that's because they have a difficult time really surrendering their independence, you know. Or I think maybe she was the type who didn't want people to know. Maybe she was hiding it. That happens too. So you see all of these type of things going on around you, but still you have to stay on your path of your intention. And that's what held me in place. Because, you know, sometimes you can just feel alone in it, you know, when she has her perspective on what's going on and you have yours. But then at some point it melds, hopefully for everyone. Well, if they're first entering into caregiving, I would say be certain that it's something that you want to do because it's so involved. You're in people's personal space. That is not easy to do, even for a manicurist who just is at your hand or a makeup artist who's at your face. Those people have to adjust to being that close to a person. So imagine you having to bathe a person. You know, you have to be certain that your strengths are your patience, your determination, you know, and you have to be as kind as you can. Because a lot of times, if your caregiving is with a very sick person, sometimes they're angry when they're sick. And sometimes the elderly are mean. They're mean. I lucked out. I know I lucked out. I was at an event, well, it was Zoom, and it was among other caregivers, and they were all talking about how their little ladies were so mean. So I felt special. I said, well, at least I got a good girl. She's a sweetie pie. But at times, they go back to their independence and they have that hard edge. But you have to remember that they're human beings who had a life, who had careers, and a lot of times successful careers and in powerful positions. And they're used to telling people what to do. So they tend to tell you what to do from time to time. So yeah, make sure it's something that you want to do and that your intention is always with the approach of love, because it is rough. I love people, always considered myself to be a socialite. But I think that my personality can be considered a rarity because I don't meet a lot of strangers. And when I approach people, I think I approach them in a manner where, like, we've always been friends. And I think I was born that way, and I like it. I don't dislike it. I like that about myself. Right. So in my spirituality, I really try to meet people spiritually. And when you live that way, you can actually feel people's energy. Yeah. And naturally you will, you know, feel the positive energy, and you feel the dark energy too. And I would just say, go with that energy. Never doubt your gut feeling. That, you know, so I'm not... I don't know the Bible, but I know my spirit and my soul, and I follow my gut, and my dad taught me that. I think it's lovely. I think anytime that there's a platform where you can expose knowledge and information and encourage people who are in certain circumstances to, you know, work on their courage to move through this journey that we're all on. I've been there. You know, in my own way, not in the same way, but having to have courage. When I came out of my relationship, I was 50. So imagine, how frightened that was, to begin again, to expose maybe some of the most personal details about yourself, just to share yourself with another human being that you've never known on this earth. After being in a relationship for 30 years, you're a dinosaur. You don't know how you're going to navigate out here. So, yes, I understand how it takes courage to move through some of the things that these women have been through. And I think it's a beautiful idea. And it's well needed. Yeah. And I came up with an idea to start not so much craft projects, but I'm leaning towards creating sculptured and board art. And I'm going to be using the African Adinka symbols. And so I'm going to be sort of working with our heritage and with art. And I'm going to do it in a lot of different ways. I'm going to use wood, I'm going to do canvas, I'm going to use materials, wire, things like that, and create a line of art. And I'm excited about that. Don't give up on the people that you're taking care of. Try and imagine yourself in their space and in needing someone to do everything for them. I am Crystal and I am raw, beauty, proud.